All right, good afternoon, everybody. Celtic Connections Festival, February the 1st, Brewing a Blether, number 2 for me this year. How are we all doing? Good. Woo! Very lovely to see you all here. Who was here last week for my chat with Ross Cooper? Yeah. A few of you, but not everyone. And who has never been to one of these Brewing a Blethers ever in their life? Quite a few newbies. Lovely, welcome. I'll just explain a little bit about what you can expect then. So my name is Adam Sutherland. I'm a fiddle player and I've just been doing these brews and blethers at the festival for a few years now. I just approached Donald Shaw with an idea that I wanted to learn, personally, I wanted to learn more about a lot of the artists at the festival and also just artists in general, and I just thought maybe I'm not the only one who might be interested to learn a bit more about them and perhaps hear from them things that you might not hear them say in a concert, and just give people like you a wee opportunity just to get a wee glimpse into their wider life and thought processes. So that's what we're going to do here today, and I'm very, very happy indeed to have a gentleman.
I think that's what I'm wondering. What is up there?
They're closing some curtains. Wow, our imaginations are all going wild right now. I'm not going to tell you what's in my head, but yeah, I'm very, very happy indeed to have a man who has, I think the word I was thinking about this the way here is the most extensive wardrobe on the scene, and I'll actually explain that a little bit. I don't mean it just literally, physically clothing, but he also has an extensive wardrobe in terms of, I suppose, his portfolio of career and everything that he does and has done for a great many years. I'm not trying to say a lot of years, like ages.
Just a few more than you.
Just a few more than me.
Not quite many though.
Quite a lot more. But, so we'll get into what he is all about and everything. But first of all, can you just make him feel like insanely welcome? So please, a warm round of applause for Simon Thoumire. Welcome, Simon. How are you feeling? Are you feeling relaxed?
Yeah, I love these kind of things. I love chatting to people, and especially you, sometimes.
Well, let's see if this...
And this is actually a brand new shirt today. But I actually bought it on eBay a few months ago, and it's quite flimsy. I don't know if you can see my vest underneath it. I've got to wear a vest now. The older I get, the colder I get.
Well, getting a new shirt, that's wonderful. The wardrobe, of course, let's just start with shoes. I was wondering what footwear you might have worn today, and the reason for that is, well, you organise, you create, you curate the Scots Trad Music, the MG Alba Scots Trad Music Awards ceremony every year for a great many years, and one of the talking points, and I don't feel too shallow speaking about this because you brought this on yourself, but one of the talking points is your footwear. Let's talk about your feet.
Well, there's two things to that, so we'll just start with footwear. I think as a man, we get quite a raw deal. Oh, sorry.
No, I'm sorry.
I think men get a raw deal in shoes. I think you go to the shoe shop, they're brown, they're not very shapely, and then you go to the women's side of the shop and you've got all these amazing shapes. And of course, in 2024, things have changed in the last 20 years, and there are a lot more different kind of shoes for guys, of many different colours. But when I was growing up, brown and black was really it, and I just love great shoes. So, but they're quite boring actually. Takey Max Guest boots, but they're lovely actually, quite comfortable. But I will carry on from that because I'm talking about the Trad Awards. So when we started the Trad Awards in 2003, what was that, 21 years ago? One of the things about the idea was trying to change the public perception of trad music. There's a few things in that, but I mean on the telly at the time, on children's telly in the UK, there was these two comedians who wore Aran jumpers and had beards. and they used to, I can't remember their names, but they used to pretend to be folk musicians, and it was all a bit of a joke. And that's how the public kind of looked upon us musicians. So when we started the awards in 2003, there was two things. It was, I still think of myself as a folk musician. I don't think of myself really as a trad musician, but I made a decision at that point that we were going to call it the Trad Awards because it was shorter and it was better media-wise and publicity-wise. But also, from that first awards, I put on my best suit and encouraged everyone who was coming along to Trad Awards to dress up. Like, trying to make a ceremony like the Oscars, because what's beautiful about the Oscars is the public understand it. They see all these stars coming along and they're all dressed to the nines and they think, oh, this is real, this is proper. And that was the concept behind the Trad Awards, and the dress is me dressing up, putting some nice shoes on, putting a suit and encouraging everyone else. Basically to, not necessarily to take it seriously, but to let the public see that we were taking it seriously.
So you were a bit of an influencer back in 2003, is that fair to say?
I was before Instagram.
You were setting those fashion trends. Actually, I'm here to ask you stories, but if I may, I've just been reminded of something. I played at the Trad Awards, I don't know what year, it must have been like
2014 in Inverness.
That is exactly.
I know that because we're going back on the 30th of November, and we had looked at the pictures. I couldn't remember what it looked like, and there was a picture of you on the stage.
Wow. So are we the first people to hear about where the Trad Awards are going to be in 2024?
Pretty much. If you go to, yes, actually.
Hey.
Go to the Trad Awards website, ScottStradMusicAwards.com. I've got a wee ticker going down to the date, but it doesn't say what it is.
So we're the first to know. It's in Inverness, my hometown. Aww. Well, I was there in 2024, apparently.
2014, actually.
Oh yeah, this is 2024.
Just keep me right.
Thank you. Can you just do that? Just keep me right. Gee whiz, it's going well. And I was playing with my band, and the bass player, a wonderful musician called John Spears, who's a great understated bass player. Understated physically, but he plays just really funky stuff. He phoned me on the day saying, "Hey Adam, I'm just checking what's the kind of, what should I wear tonight?" Is it okay just to wear a shirt and jeans and all that? And I said, well, honestly, everyone's going to be dressed to the nines. And he's like, oh right, well, I do have a suit, but it's the suit I was wearing with my mariachi band last night. So he had this Mexican, awesome suit, and I just said, well, man, it's up to you. I'm not going to tell you what to wear. I'm not going to be that kind of band leader. But he ended up wearing it, and I was getting all these text messages from people saying, Adam, really enjoyed your set, but your bass player has upstaged you and everyone with his suit. It's just incredible. So John Spears absolutely nailed it.
It really was some hat.
So, yeah, moving on from shoes, I feel quite self-conscious about my hill boots here, but it's just Anyway, you also have many hats. That was the other thing I wanted to tie in there with wardrobe. I can't even keep track of all the things that you do. And I say you do for us. I feel like you do a lot of things for the wider scene and for the public. You work behind the scenes. You seem to be terribly shy of ever taking any credit, but you do a lot. So let's maybe just start with, hands up for a trad hat. Tell us about, imagine no one knows about hands up for trad, just in case anyone doesn't. Just explain what it is and what it is that you do for us all.
Well, actually, so I'll tell you where Hands Up for Trad came from. So back in 1989, I won the BBC Radio 2 Young Traditional Musician Award with Jim Lloyd, and was very lucky to do so. And as I watched the award change, there was a lot of Scots winning. Jennifer Wrigley, Katrina MacDonald, Ingrid Henderson. And then it changed also to the Young Folk Award after that. And when it changed to the Young Folk Award, So the Young Trad Award, I think it was up to 25. And when the Young Folk Award, it was something like 16 to 20. That's what you had to be to enter. I didn't think that was enough, because it was all about encouraging musicians to be professional. So in 2000, we made a decision to start the BBC Radio Scotland Young Traditional Musician Award, although in 2000 it was actually called the Young Scottish Traditional Musician. BBC Radio Scotland weren't involved. And we did it, and I called Colin Hind, who is some of you will remember him, but he was the guy that started Celtic Connections, and I said, Colin, would you mind putting on the final? And he said, no problem, because one of the things Colin was great at was taking an idea and really working it. He was brilliant. I mean, we're all here because of Colin's vision. And so he said, yeah, let's do it. And we had that first year, but we needed an organisation to run it. So the Scottish Traditional Music Trust was born. And that was the name of it. And I got a great fiddler and artist called Sarah McFadden to design a logo. And we applied for charitable status, and we raised some money to make the first Young Trad Award happen. And it was in the second year, I had a meeting with Maggie Cunningham, who was the then controller of BBC Radio Scotland. And she said, we like this idea, we'd like to come on board, let's call it the BBC Radio Scotland Young Traditional Musician Award. So that was year 2, year 1, Gillian Frame won, and year 2, Emily Smith won. And then people started saying to me, it's all about young people. They don't seem to say that so much nowadays. Well, actually, in these days, there was a lot of funding opportunities starting to appear. David Francis had done an amazing report for the Scottish Arts Council that started putting a lot of things in motion, and there was funding coming, especially for the young people, and the musicians were saying to me, but what about us? Robin Martin, the legend that is, he said to me, oh man, it's not fair. He didn't say it like that, he swore a lot. And I said, you're absolutely right. So in 2003 I was 33, and so I was a musician that was getting older as well, and I said, yeah, let's do the Scots Trad Music Awards. And with everything that I said about dressing up and all the different categories for the public and media, in fact, we did a press launch that year, and so the Trad Awards are always in December, but that year it was in September for the first one. And Pete Haywood of the Living Tradition magazine said to me, Simon, whatever you do when you're making awards like that, when people complain, and they will, state your aim. And the aim of the Scots Trad Music Awards is to bring our music in front of the public, in front of the media, which is still the aim to this day. And I felt at that time we needed a new company name. So I came up with Hands Up for Trad, which of course people said, what a terrible name. But then so was the Beatles. And then after a while it just became the sound. And I designed a logo, I scanned my hand on a scanner, and I made an H that had my hand at the top of the H. And Hands Up for Trad were born.
You also have a wee, when you see the logo online, there's a wee penny whistle that goes do-dee-doo-loo. Is that you playing that as well?
It is. Hey. Yeah, I remember Microsoft, Apple, they all have these sonic logos. I remember many years ago I looked up, what is this? Well, Hands Up for Trad should have a sonic logo too. So that's it, yeah.
How did you come about the most creative process for do-dee-dee-doo-loo?
Well, I think the first thing I did is I put my concertina down because it would have been too complicated. It's like put far too many notes in it. So I picked up a penny whistle.
And was that the first idea, or did you go through a whole pile of other ideas first before
I don't know.
on that one?
Can't remember. Too long ago.
I love little pieces of music like that. I've always thought it'd be so cool to make an album of 3-second pieces of music. Sorry, that's just a personal nerdy interest of mine. But then it's my show. Don't have to justify anything.
I said to Adam before we did this, I said, remember and keep me on track because I tend to answer the questions that I want to answer. So I don't even know if I've answered that question.
You did. I was asking you to explain about Hands Up for Triad, and you gave us a really wonderful kind of retrospective of the entire scene over the last 20 years. We're building up nicely into the logo and then the music. It was absolutely perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Something you mentioned there was about the first ever winners of the Young Trad Award, and of course there's been so many, Young Trad Award, is that what you call it? Young cool person, amazing musician of the, There's been so many
developing musician, probably.
There's been so many of those since, and
because this is year 24
whoa.
Of the Young Trad, which is kind of amazing.
It reminded me of when I first started trying to make a living playing the fiddle, and when I was 18 and 19 and 20, I was playing with a band called Croft Number 5, who actually made a very strange comeback recently for reasons that we don't understand. We're getting booked again, despite not doing anything.
This is not the second comeback.
I think it might be. It's very, we're not. Anyway, when we were first starting out, we started off this folk music session in the Ben Nevis Bar in Glasgow, and we lived upstairs actually, and it was like we were just playing there every night for ages. And in that time, I remember thinking, there's not that many young folk. There was basically us and a few others in Glasgow. But then at the time, work was starting to become available, teaching at all the various fashion and things that were in Gaelic as well, like Tinto Summer School and Edinburgh Youth Gathering and all these things. So there was quite a bit of work to be had just teaching. And I remember thinking at the time, God, imagine there's teaching events, teaching kids all over the country. Like, what's it going to be like in 20 years' time? It's going to be insane. There's going to be so many now adult musicians, and it is like that. It's just that the transformation over the last 20 years has been incredible. I think we're so it's so abundant now, but I think it's nice just to remember that it wasn't always like this, was it? I mean, there's always been traditional music in Scotland, and it's always been great, but just the sheer volume of incredible musicians. And
I think it's well remembering that there is different scenes, from the outset of the conservatoire course, or whatever it was called, the Royal Scottish Academy of Music and Drama, in the mid-90s. So that changed a lot. Everyone started moving here, but I was in the 90s. I'm from Edinburgh, and that's where the amazing scene was in Edinburgh. It was absolutely fabulous. And of course, from the 70s onwards in Edinburgh, a lot of the young ones don't really remember that now, of course, and why would they? But I mean, from your Silly Wizards and the Sandy Bells, Ali Bain, Hamish Henderson, all living above Sandy Bells and around these places, and all these beautiful bands like Ocean in the 80s, and Jock Tamson's Bairns, which still make music. Their music now still brings a tear to your eye. I was talking to Donald Shaw the other day there, and we were kind of thinking about folkies and everything like that. And my first band that I joined, it was in 1987. It was a band called Shawnee.
I had the tape.
Yeah.
I loved that tape.
And
Devil's Delight. That was your album.
That was the second album actually.
Oh,
yeah, the first one was called It's not. I want to call it Take a Chance, but it wasn't. Anyway, I had a Stetson on the cover. Not one of my best fashion moments.
An early indicator, though, perhaps, of your debonair fashion to come.
Anyway, I joined that band in 87, or maybe 86, I'm not exactly sure, but my mum saw an advert in Gordon Simpson's music shop in Edinburgh. And where there used to be music shops. And I joined it, and because the reason that she saw that ad is my sister used to go to accordion lessons with a woman called Chrissy Letham, who was a contemporary of Jimmy Shand's, and she was an amazing teacher. and she taught Phil Cunningham accordion, and so my mum was going there to take my sister for her lessons. She saw this band, and I joined Shawnee, and I think I lied because they were looking for somebody played in the pubs, which I think this is the point I was going away from. But the point was this: in these days, there was semi-professional bands, which is not such a thing now. You know, the Shawnees, the Kjolbegs in these times were semi-professionals. I was thinking the other day, I met somebody called Satanta, an Irish boy in Battle of the Folk Bands last week. Remember the Glasgow band, Satanta? And most of these bands were all semi-professional. And that all kind of disappeared come the 90s. I don't really want to know what my point is here, actually. It really made a lot of sense when I started it.
No, we're just like talking about how the scene has evolved. And
yeah, so in the 90s, it actually, with the conservatoire, it actually became quite professional, really, as I came into finished university in 93, and everything changed really from then. People were looking for bigger fees, which the semi-professional bands weren't doing, but a lot of these scenes were Edinburgh. There was a kind of folk scene in Glasgow, but it was different. More and more folk song stroke Irish scene, and Edinburgh was sort of pushing the Scottish stuff.
I remember I went to study at the then RSAMD, the Royal Scottish Academy of Music and Drama, and I was in the second ever year of that course. I went in 1997. I came down from Inverness, and Glasgow, the music scene there's a lot of Irish sessions, but there wasn't any real Scottish stuff. And I went to Edinburgh and went to this amazing session in a pub called the Tron, Cayley House, which isn't doing sessions anymore, but I had a list of people playing around the table. There was like you, I think, Ross Martin, Gailey Shaw, John McCusker, Ian MacLeod, the late Angus Grant, Malcolm Stitt, the whole pile of and they were I just listened to pleasure overload. I couldn't believe it. It just blew my absolute mind. And I remember thinking Edinburgh is the place for music. And you're right, it was a huge melting pot.
And it changed just like that though as well.
Well, I suppose the university courses started kind of sucking people from all around Scotland, in fact all over the world, just into this one city. So again, it had a sense of inevitability that what are these people going to do for their social lives? They're going to sit and play sessions. So yeah, Glasgow's definitely benefited from that. Of course, there was the applied music course at Strathclyde, which started around about the same time as well. And I think maybe now would be a good time for a little musical interlude, because we haven't spoken about your music particularly, other than, we've spoken more about your clothing actually than your actual art, which makes me feel a little bit like a shallow interviewer here. So let's just actually...
I like your trousers, so I think they're quite nice.
You like my trousers?
I should with the shoes.
I know the Hillbilly. No, we're talking about music. You did it. You said you might try and drag me off into different. I have come back to the topic of you. You're back. Okay, so you play the concertina. There's a few weird things about the world. One of them is that there's hardly any concertina players, as far as I can see, but all the concertina players are virtuosos. That doesn't make sense. Like, there should be, for every virtuoso, 100 people who are totally amazing at it, but there's only you and Mawson, and you're amazing. I don't get it.
To be honest, there is a lot of concertina players. I mean, the thing is, I play a different instrument from Mawson. I play an English concertina, which is it's basically fully chromatic.
Show us, please.
Oh, yeah.
Demonstrate.
So this is a fully chromatic machine. So basically that means it's all the white and the black notes of a piano. And it's also the English concertina. It's got the same note on both bellows. So this is the English concertina. The other one's called the Anglo concertina, although in Ireland it just gets called the concertina, and that's more like a diatonic instrument. So it's quite like a mouth organ in terms of every time on the pull and the push, it's got a different note. And diatonic, although you can, in theory, play in every key, it's far more difficult. They're meant to be in, say, D and G and all that kind of stuff. I don't really understand it, because I don't need to. But there's not so many players.
How did you end up playing?
Well, my mum and dad had a McCalman's record, Smuggler, which is a brilliant album. I don't actually, just a quick move into the side, I don't know if you've ever looked at the McCalman's Bandcamp page. And Ian McCalman uploaded all of their old CDs, or their old albums, before they went with Green Tracks. And he is absolutely amazing bit of knowledge. He's written all the notes about all the tracks, he's put all the different covers in it, and McCalman's had this amazing career, from the 60s and on TV, selling audiences everywhere, and it's definitely worth having a look at I think it's McCalman, is McCalman's.bandcamp.com, just for a bit of history, but the music's absolutely fabulous. So anyway, we used to dance round the room to this, and when my grandparents passed away, they left a little bit of money, and my sister got an accordion, and she went to Tracy Latham, and I decided I was going to learn the mandolin, because Hamish Bain from McCalman's played the mandolin, and I couldn't find a mandolin teacher, and I then decided on Hamish Bain's other instrument, which is the concertina, and Chrissy Latham knew a concertina player called Tom Ward, who is still playing today. He's retired, but he's still playing away, an amazing guy, and he got me my first concertina. This is a story I always tell, that I got a manual for the concertina, Alistair Anderson's concertina workshop, before my concertina arrived. And my mum got an old shoebox, and she printed all the buttons with glitter on the sides, and I practiced the shoebox until the concertina arrived. And I still remember it. My dad worked in the post office, and he always worked early shift on a Saturday morning, and he went and picked up the concertina, which was a wooden-ended lachenal. I've only ever owned 3 concertinas, and the moment he brought it home on that Saturday morning, I fell in love with it. Because I was already I'd been playing music since the age of 7. This was at 12. So recorded at 7, bagpipes at 9 with the Boys Brigade, and then the concertina arrived at 12, and I fell in love with it. I'm still in love with it. In fact, my sons call it my first son. We went to see Manchester United's ground the other day there, and I took this with me.
Just the two of you. You can do concertina all that shuts. But I think people often associate you with all the great work you do with, Hands Up for Trad and the awards and all that, but people sometimes maybe forget how bloody amazing you are at the concertina. So can you just lash out a tune for us, just to make that point?
I haven't thought of it at all. What was that one I was playing earlier?
The Left-Handed Fiddler by Scots.
The other one.
Pass.
No, it's the one that sounds the same.
Oh, is that a Shetland tune, I think?
Is it?
So
what we're saying is it might be a mixture of the two.
that was amazing. That was at least two tunes. More, it sounded excellent. And
I've always been, growing up in a house full of music, no musicians really, but my dad loved music. My mum was a Highland dancer. So when I started on the pipes at 9, at the age of 7, I learned to read music on the recorder. My teacher, Mrs. Hobson at Rickerton Primary in Edinburgh, taught us how to read music, and I took to it. I just understood it, and that skill has always stayed with me. I can look at a piece of music and read it. It's like a book, which is very handy. And when I started the bagpipes, all the bagpipe music came to me. It was just lots of sheets. And my mum knew all the tunes from her dancing, like A Cowl Gathering and all the tunes. And she used to sing them to me, and I just used to play them on the chanter. And I pretty much had the whole of the band repertoire just off because I could read music, but no one else could read music in the band. And that was the music in my house. As I say, my dad loved jazz, not modern jazz. It was sort of New Orleans kind of stuff. And I was totally introduced to all these beautiful recordings of the 1930s clarinet and trumpeters and all their wonderful talents. And then the whole melting pot that was Edinburgh when I got there, Edinburgh at that time wasn't just about trad music. I always think because of the drinking hours, in Edinburgh, you could drink to 3 in the morning, no problem. In fact, we didn't really go out till 10 o'clock at night because you had the rest of the night to go. But because of that, we were all late night, so we hung about with the jazz. And in fact, Adam mentioned the Tron pub, which was bought by Cy Laurie, I think in the early 90s, maybe 92, 93. This was, Cy Laurie owned the Riverside in Glasgow. He really knew how to run a great pub. But the Tron was on 3 levels. It had a top bar that we didn't really go to. We had the middle bar where all the sessions and that big table was. And in the bottom was like lots of little caverns. And he just gave them away. So there was like 2 folk clubs. Elspeth Cowie ran 2 folk clubs. There was a jazz club. There was an improvising club, a jazz improvisation club. There was singer-songwriter nights, all going on in the basement of this bar. So when the people finished their club and audition, they'd come up and join us round the table. So we got to know the whole of the Edinburgh jazz scene, the Bancroft, Tom Bancroft, Phil Bancroft, Kevin Mackenzie, and we all played together. And so I learned all about their jazz, and they all played. We had so many amazing...
That's amazing, because I didn't quite understand how the trad scene in Edinburgh got quite so jazzy, but it's like literally the feng shui of this building, and the fact that Cy Laurie held all these things.
I'm going to
you guys
say,
were just forced together.
Kind of, because if you look back to the Easy Club, another one of my heroes, they were obviously, so that was the 80s. So I remember in 1986 hearing the very first Easy Club album on Travelling Folk. I used to have a radio that was under my bed. I think I was kind of a weirdo in many ways. I listened to Easy. None of my friends, you'd come back after Christmas and you might have got a chanter or some music for Christmas, and they'd say, "What did you get for Christmas?" I went, "Clothes." You could never tell anybody what you loved. And so Jim Sutherland was playing with jazz, but I think a lot of that might have come from Jack Evans as well, and Jock Tamson's Bairns. He had that kind of jazz shuffle style, and they formed the Easy Club. So there was a bit of jazz kicking around anyway. I can see you looking at your watch.
No, I was... Jack Evans, he's been teaching, I don't know if he still does, but taught at Plockton School of Excellence for many years, and his style of jazzy chord playing has definitely influenced a lot of the scene's players today. I know Innes Watson, fabulous musician, he was taught by Jack a lot, and so it's nice to see that kind of lineage of that jazziness. In fact, can we play one of your tunes actually, because one of the first shows I was involved in was this dance show called the Scottish Step Dance Company, and Kevin Mackenzie, wonderful jazz guitar player, was the guitar player in that show, and we did a tune of yours. I think it's called Overcast.
Oh, God, yeah.
I love it. I don't think I've played it for a few decades.
Yeah,
but
I can tell you how it came from, actually. So, again, this whole thing in Edinburgh of the fusion. So, Martin Bennett was a big contemporary of mine. We all used to hang about in the pubs, and there was this kind of... And also, Shoodle Nifty, all these bands were all just getting started and being amazing, and there was this kind of race to make electronic albums, and with Fergus McKenzie, Kevin McKenzie's brother, the guitar player, we made this album on Lismore, might be in Iona, actually called Exhibit A, and this is a track that we wrote for that album. It might not sound like that now, of course, because I've played it for a few years. Go on then.
I love that tune. It's got character. I spent a lot of time trying to work out what it is that makes a tune a good tune, and I think it's something that's not even like quantifiable with your left brain. It's just like charisma or character or charm, and that tune I think is full of it. I particularly have this one note, if I'm going to get a bit nerdy here, but then it's the D sharp in the second part. Is it?
Moving back to E.
That is exquisite.
It's kind of like that whole thing though.
But I see what you did there. There was that extra wee cheeky wee note.
Yeah, but that's how we learned it. You know, I didn't put that in.
But your one was even shorter. It was like so subtle. It was just like beautiful. Yeah, I just love that.
Thank you.
Isn't that great just to hear Simon just lashing out little whatever? Your brain is amazing.
Thank you.
I actually feel a lot of gratitude to Simon because one of the things he does, I think he basically provides mentoring and kind of support and encouragement to working musicians. And he said to me quite a few years ago, when are you making a solo album? And I was just like, not doing that. And then I did because of him.
I remember the meeting very well actually, because I used to meet people in Pret, just across the road.
It's just been taken apart. I noticed on the way here today they're gutting it, it's gone.
Was that right?
Which I thought, ooh, that's kind of like symbolic of something. It's not right to see Simon Thoumire.
They never shut the door.
Very cool now, the front's off it.
Anyway, Adam arrived and we had been talking about it. And often, you know, you have an idea for something, you just need to talk to somebody about it. You know, you keep these ideas in your head all the time. And Adam said to me, I've tried to make a record many times, and I don't seem to get anywhere. And all I said to him was, right, well, let's just break it down. First thing you need is a budget. Next you need this, next thing you need that. And we just sat together and we just made a budget. And that was the start, that was you off. Because you had that and you applied for money, if I remember rightly.
We had lots of things. I recorded the album in front of a studio audience. That was one way of funding it. We recorded it live.
And then when you got the CDs, I remember this, that you were going out to a gig and you jumped over them and left them in the house when they arrived.
Oh my God.
That was a good story.
I think I might have blocked that memory. It does sound suspiciously familiar, like something I might do. Wow. Hi, so yeah, you're very encouraging, understanding, but you've helped a lot of musicians make things happen. I don't know if any of us are really aware of just how much behind the scenes encouragement and how much wind you've been putting in people's sails. I feel very grateful.
I think over the years now, I believe a creative life, if you can manage it, is the best life. Being creative in your life is a wonderful thing. If you, on a daily basis, if you're able to make something, you know, draw something, or actually even just loving what you do. You know, I'll quote a friend of mine who's an accountant, and he loves his job. And he's always thinking about new ways of doing things, and he's being creative with it. And so I meet all these young musicians, and I just try to get people to remember the love. I mean, because we don't do music to be millionaires. And the fact is, if you're not loving this every day, you may as well go and work in an office with no window. You know, and
I'm just doing this for the money.
And I just want everybody.
It's funny, isn't it?
And I see that in anybody, all of us. You know, if there's something that we can do every day that makes us really happy, whether it's drawing a picture, writing a story, writing a diary, or something like that, it's just a little bit of goodness in our life, and it's wonderful. And we'll be smiling.
That's what's great about there's so many adult learners of traditional music. Like, I teach a lot of them, and I just love that. In fact, I did a really amazingly bad pep talk. I'm going to just tell you now, not for anything other than just it's just so laughably bad. I was teaching in Selma Rostig in the Gaelic College last year with this band I play called Session A9, and I was just musing with them how amazing it is that adult learners of anything are just, I find them really inspiring, because it's like, you know, you go to school, you learn stuff, maybe you go to university, and then a lot of us just stop learning stuff and don't even maybe notice that we've stopped learning. But adult learners are like, I'm not done yet, I'm going to try something new. My favourite example of that was a lady who started learning the accordion at 83, and then I met her and she was 86 and she was playing waltzes quite nicely, and she was just, for me, the best example of someone who's like, I'm not done with this life yet, there's still more, and I loved it. So I was just saying to this class that I was teaching, it's like, and what I really admire the most about you all is that you don't mind not being very good at stuff. And then their eyebrows started going up. And then I realized, I'm not saying that you're rubbish, but now that I've said that, it does sound like I'm just saying you don't mind being crap at this. And it was just like, dig. Luckily they were very understanding and far more thick-skinned than I took credit for. But the point I'm trying to make is, what is the point? I'm trying to make a point which is just the part of the scene, relating to what you're saying, with the love of just doing something. Part of this scene that's amazing, I think, is that it's for everyone. Anyone can just go and learn some of this music and just love doing it and just scrape away.
Yeah, I've banged on for years that traditional music is about community. It's not about virtuosity. Yes, there's lots of great players out there, but the best times we'll have playing music is when we're all playing in a bar together in unison. It's not about doing fancy harmonies or anything. It's about the listening to each other and the fun that's in that.
I would say playing in a bar together would be unison, like in inverted commas, you know, because we're in a bar. But that was funnier in my head. That was so funny in my head. Wow.
Are you talking about the union?
No, just like, we think you're playing the same thing at the same time, but because you've been, and now explaining a joke, but you've been there. This is getting worse. What time is it? Christ. Wow, so we can play some more music maybe, just to get off that
To move away from that kind of joke.
so fast. Let's move. What about, I think you've asked me to play in some of your videos that you make for your social media presence. I think we played, we did the Battle song once, yourself and me and Laura Wilkie. You asked me how it goes, and now I have to remember how it goes.
That was really funny in that video. I don't remember the tune at all, but as I'm about to find out, but that video, we were all sitting outside this bar on Argyle Street because it was a nice day, and I'd set up the video, and there was dogs and everything kicking around, and that was a better story in my head as well. Still funnier than his joke, because at least that was understandable.
It's fair.
How did Battle Song go? I know Battle of Waterloo. Quite an interesting thought, actually. Sorry, I'll just jump in here. So, one of my YouTube heroes is a guy called Casey Neistat. Have you heard of him at all? He was one of the first vloggers on YouTube, and his skill is in storytelling. And I just love watching his videos. He's made millions and millions of it, but he makes the videos himself, and it's great stories. So, many years ago, that's why I started making all these videos, tried to make them weekly, and it was very tiring, but I still managed it. But I watched an interview with him last week, and I don't know if this is something that you think about, Adam, but he said he hasn't really been making videos for 6 months because he's creatively tired. And I haven't been making as many videos for 6 months because actually I'm knackered. I'm really tired. All the hands up for trying things that we do all the time, coming up with new ideas for this and that. And I'm not someone who's really good at the mediocrity. I really like sort of flashy things and coming up with ideas and everything, and I'm actually quite tired.
Oh, there's so much in that. It's nice to hear someone who's done a lot of content creation just to say how tiring it is, because it seems like everything on social media and internet is all about projecting how much energy you've got, isn't it? And how perfect your life is or whatever. But it's just a very human kind of angle there. And I suppose with creativity, you can't always have ideas.
You do need to rest.
Yeah.
You do.
I feel it's like if you learn stuff, that's the best fuel for your creative engine. If you stop learning stuff, you're less likely to have ideas. Because I think, well, for me anyway, I get creative when I just stumble across. It feels to me like it's stumbling across something that was already there, like finding a tune. In fact, Stefan Grappelli, the great jazz violinist, said that he didn't write tunes, he found them, and I thought that seems true.
It's also quite difficult nowadays. I mean, I look at my children, and it's a barrage of news, social media, games. I mean, I'm kind of amazed in many ways that anybody's creative nowadays, you know, because they spend their time doing what everyone else wants them to do. You know, they play these games constantly, and they're loving it and everything like that. But it's difficult to be creative, and I personally, at the moment, I don't really look at social media and don't watch the news, and I feel much better for it because it's more a positive experience. You know, I learned the other day there that there was a COVID inquiry with Nicola Sturgeon. I didn't even know it was on. It was brilliant.
Yeah, I think it's okay just to disengage from a lot of that, particularly if it's a health issue. I think it's definitely fine. We don't have a huge amount of time left, but does anyone here have any questions that they would like to ask Simon?
At least another hour in this.
Anyone want to ask Simon anything? Oh, yes.
From an outsider's view, it looks like there are dozens, perhaps hundreds of young musicians who are even just in Glasgow wanting to make a living doing this. But I don't notice any competitive stuff. It seems like all musicians are willing to help another person look really good in a concert or on a CD. Is there a competitive thing because there's only so many places, so many opportunities, so much money?
I think there are only so many bands a festival will book, and there's definitely more people trying to get booked at Celtic Connections than Celtic Connections is booking. So it is competitive, like it just is. But you're right, there doesn't seem to be a sense of people actually, trying to like Machiavellian style stab each other in the back. It's all very collaborative.
I think also though that it's my job and the other jobs to make the scene look much bigger than it actually is. I'm telling you now that it's not as big as you think, but if you hear me on the radio tonight, I'm going to tell you it's massive. Because it's our job to promote the scene. We've got to make the country look like it's really busy, music everywhere, and also to encourage people to come in and listen to it and everything like that. But last year I was trying to do this thing we do called World Play a Strathspey Day and have a concert. I'm trying to get different fiddlers for it. There wasn't so many, and so it's not as big as you think. And also, a lot of these musicians that are out there fighting for these sessions, many sessions and dances, there's a lot of them, but there's still a period of time that these musicians are happening in, and it's mainly their 20s. People like me and Adam, there's not that many like us. There's more nowadays of older musicians, but a lot of the musicians, they reach their 30s nowadays, and you're looking at families and houses. You've got to think quite carefully how you move forward. So a lot of them will move into job, a lot of them move into music education. In fact, there is a lot more education opportunities nowadays for folk music in schools, like Face Ross run stuff and Face and Gale, and there is opportunities out there people can do it, but these musicians are not necessarily looking for the gigs. And also touring as well, in my mind, is a bit of a young man's game, really.
I'm so annoyed that we're running out of time because I actually really wanted to speak about this as the whole thing of what is the business model? Is there just one business model? How do you make a living? And in the era of Spotify and all that and stuff, and how there's so much changing and there's so many more people doing it. Just to go back to what the gentleman was saying, though, there is, when I was young, starting out, I was always amazed that I was terrified of all the musicians, frankly, who were already doing it. They were just older than me, and I remember when I first met Charlie McCarran, and he was 40, and I remember thinking, God, that is insanely old. And then I'm now 44, and it's like, that's funny. But they were older, and I was terrified of them, but needlessly terrified of them, because I was also amazed at how utterly nice everyone was to me, and everyone just had this code, unwritten code of we're all going to be nice. Everyone hugged, whether they liked it or not, and that's like not quite so much a thing now. And I'm noticing I'm hugging people and feeling like this isn't being returned. They're uncomfortable. In fact, I once did that on a boat coming back from the Hebridean Celtic Festival, where I'd been for a week, hugging everyone, and then this person, I met them and I came for the hug, and then I realised that they weren't hugging me and they felt really cold and uncomfortable, so I stepped off and I realised it was this lady who I didn't know, and she was holding the door open for me. Her look of horror. I think she was just a tourist in the US, and she was just like, what is happening?
One thing about Chinese is beautiful, it's never changed, is there's not a lot of ego involved, and when the bands or musicians finish a gig, they very happily walk into the audience and just mix with everybody else. Yes, there are some, but in general, and that's a great thing. It's very easy to meet people and chat to them and ask them a question, and we're lucky for that.
I know, that is... I wonder if that's
wouldn't hug everyone though.
No, but it's proper
That's
rock.
never been me.
What's that, sorry?
Hugging everybody.
You didn't hug me today, I noticed that actually. Just a little bit. Can we hug after this?
When I'm holding the door for you.
I'll just give you a wee squeeze. Well, yeah, there's so much more. I feel like we're just almost getting started here, but we don't have so much time anymore. I think we should finish with some music. Oh, no, you need to mention
Well,
your new
again
music.
tomorrow night. If anyone is free, City Halls, not the City Halls, the recital rooms, with Dave Milligan. And we're playing tracks from our new album, which is tracks we wrote in lockdown. And it's all music for people in our lives. So I've really enjoyed it. And Dave's such a fabulous piano player.
That's a lovely theme. So the whole album is music you've written and named after people.
And but also thinking about the people, writing the music.
You thought about them whilst you were writing it.
Yeah. But you do all that as well.
Yeah.
In your sleep and make an album about it.
You were responsible for that. That's another thing Simon said to me when I made my second album. He said the first thing you should do before you've done anything, any writing of the music or anything, is book your album launch date. So I did that. I spoke to Donald Shaw. I saw him in the Bed Nevis Bar one night. I said, I think it was about a year and a half before. I said, can I possibly have a gig at the festival launching my second album? And he was like, yeah, that's fine. I did that, and then I was like, oh God, I haven't got any music. And then, but this is actually a genius thing, because then you've got this. It's like feeling like you're in a river going towards a waterfall, and you're just like getting closer and closer. But it's a thing that's in the post. It's actually an amazing thing for your creativity, because like as I got closer, I didn't have much music. I literally, in my sleep, my brain just started going, okay, fine, I'll do it here. So I started dreaming pieces of music, and that actually became the theme of my album. Anyway, I'm not here to talk about me. You've got your album, Dave Milligan, and you're gigging tomorrow night in the recital City Halls tomorrow night.
And of course on Sunday night, Young Trad Awards.
Whoa, yeah, that's a biggie.
As well.
Anyone going? Yeah. There you go, look at that.
I don't know who's going to win. I mean, you obviously don't know who's going to win, but I think it's all quite close.
That's my favourite comment on the Trad. Just have no idea. Okay, shall we finish with a wee tune?
Yeah, what would you like?
Well, it's up to you. It's not a piece that you wrote, but it is named after you.
Well, yeah.
John McCusker jig, Simon Toumaire's jig.
Did anyone go to John McCusker's 30th anniversary gig last year? That was great. I loved Eddie Reader. I thought she was amazing. I felt like she's such a star. It's just like being on stage with her. You know, you're just in her band immediately, and she was so cool. I think she's great.
Yeah, she is.
Let's do that.
Do you want to play Simon Thoumire Jig by John McCusker, and then we'll finish off there?
Yeah, that tune happened. It's called Simon Thoumire Jig because John was making a Battlefield band album at Temple Records in Gore Bridge. And this was again in the 90s, and we were all hanging out and doing all these things that we shouldn't be doing. And I went to visit John in the studio, and he said, "Oh, I've got this tune." I said, "Well, that sounds great." He said, and then the album came out, and he called it Simon Thoumire Jig.
Let's do that.
Yeah. 2, 3,
very much indeed, Mr. Simon Thoumire. Thank you, Celtic Connections Festival, for allowing this. Thank you all for coming along. Enjoy the rest of the festival, and we'll hopefully see you next year. Woo.